Everybody, welcome back. Well, in this lecture, we're going to be looking at this. What is port security? Watch this. I'm going to use a regular switch. It doesn't have to be a multi-layer. So I'm going to get myself a 2960 switch. As you see, here's a 2960. I'm going to add a lot of computers. So I'm going to click on the endpoint devices. I'm going to press the control key, click on the laptop, and I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say we put 6 devices. Press escape to get rid of that, right? So when you press escape, you remove that. If you want to remove a laptop, you just actually you can highlight it and just click on the actual what X right over here and delete, and then press escape to get rid of that. When you put an actual server, watch this. Why? I'm going to be using DHCP. So let me get cables. I'm going to specify which ports I'll be using. So let's say fast Ethernet to fast Ethernet 01. This one to 02. This one to 03. All right. This one to 04. This one to 05. And this one to 06. I'll put the server on port 24. Now, if I don't have DHCP running on my network, what number will all these clients get? Right? Check this out. They will be getting a people automatic private IP address 169.254. something dot something. That means there's no DHCP server. That's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the server and give this an IP address 192.168.100.100. And let's assume we have a router and the default gateway is the IP of the router. And DNS, I'm using Google's DNS. All right. Then I'm going to go to services, go to DHCP, turn the service on, and my gateway is what? 100.254. And what is DNS? All eights. All right. I'm going to say I'm going to start using numbers from 50 to 25 users. And I'm going to save. So watch this. Now I'm going to go to each machine static DHCP. I should be able to get a number. So I'm actually on the network. If I'm able to get a number, that means I'm actually on the network. I could reach any resource internally. Let me just verify this on all my devices. And at the moment, I don't have port security. What does port security mean? I could specify which devices can connect to a specific switch port based on their MAC address, based on their hardware address. So by default, anybody can walk into the office and just plug in a cable to the wall jack and they could receive an IP address from my network and they could reach resources internally, which means if I go ahead and I get myself another server here, let me hook up an actual cable from here to here, right? Let's say to port 23. And I'm going to open this and I'm going to give this 100.200, right? 192.168, 100.200. And then I'm going to put the default gateway, right, as 100.254 and DNS all eights. And if I check on the services, I am running HTTP, HTTPS, and look at FTP. It's running. All right. So now what I want to do is, can I connect from this device? If I open the web browser, can I reach that actual server? Well, let me put 192.168.100 dot what? 200, right? I could reach 100.200. This is fine. I could open anything over here, close this out, and let's say open the command prompt and do FTP into the actual what? Server. 192.168.100.200. Oh, look, I'm actually there. Username is Cisco, password is Cisco. And I could look at my directory, I could see what's on the FTP server. Why I'm actually on the network? Well, this person left work, removes the cable. This other person comes in, gets an actual cable or connects to the Wi-Fi anyway, Ethernet or not, and I just connect to port, same port, and am I able to get an IP address? Watch this. DHCP, and yes, I can get an IP address, which means I could reach resources. So if I put envelope here, which means I'm sending a ping traffic from here to here, successful. I could reach from everywhere to everywhere. There is no port security. That's what I want to discuss. I don't want somebody to be walking into the office and just get themselves an laptop, their own system, plug it in, and they're actually on the network. That's not safe. That's not a secure environment. So what I'm going to be doing in our next lecture is how can we configure port security. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Well, everybody, welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, we're going to be looking at is port security. Look what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove this cable and I'm going to put the original cable back. So here to here. And you see this? Back to port one. I'm just going to leave this on the side as you see. Let me just clear these ICMP replies. So what I want to do is configure port security. Let's say I want to configure port security for the first two ports, or let's say the first port at the beginning. Watch this. So I go to the CLI, I go to global configuration mode, interface F0/1. If I want to know the interfaces, this is the best command. Show IP interface brief. Or look at this. I could see F01, F02, all of them. So I could see each interface. Or if I do show interfaces, I could see more and more about each one of them. Control Z stops it. So I'm going to go to the interface. It's a manageable switch I can make per port configuration. And let me ask for help. Do we have anything? I'm looking for the switch port command. This is the command that I'm looking for. Look at this. Which port? I'm going to ask for help. Oh, there you go. Port security. Okay. TO, hit the tab key, port security, enter. Look what it says. Oh, this is a dynamic port. See, when it comes up to ports on a switch, they fall into different categories. It could be an access port, it could be a trunk port, it could be a voice port. So, what is an access port? An access port, which means it's for data like a laptop, a desktop, a printer, a server. A voice port is like for an IP phone. Trunk port is when you connect a switch to a switch or a switch to a router. We'll see that. So I have to let the actual port know what type of mode you're going to be in. So the first thing is switch port, and I'm going to do the mode actually. See this mode, not port security. And then I put a question mark, access or trunk. And I'm going to say this is an access port and enter. So this is the first thing that I have to do before I enable port security. Then I hit the up arrow twice, switch port security. I have to enable port security. Now my next step is switch port, ask for help again, port security, and look at this. I have aging, MAC address, maximum violation. We'll talk about them, but for now, I want to say MAC address, and I can specify the MAC address manually, which means I can put the MAC address manually. In here, I have to go to the system or do an ARP request and do that. What I could also do is instead of putting the MAC address manually, I could use the sticky command. Now, what is the sticky command? Whoever connects first to that port, they will register their MAC address to the actual port itself. So let me ask for help. I'm going to press enter since I see CR carriage return. All right, great. Let me do Control C and look at my running configuration. I have port security enabled. It's an access port, and I do have switch port security, MAC address, what? Sticky. Okay, that's on port one. Well, which one is on port one? This device. So if I go to this machine and let's say I restart it or static DHCP, just to give it a refresh, I have an IP. Let me do some type of traffic. Let's say ICMP from here to here. Okay, good. Let me go back to the switch. Watch this. And I'm going to do show my running configuration. Now I can see my MAC address. See that? The MAC address is right there. So BAB7. Let's take a look and see BAB7. And look on the right side. BAB7. That's the MAC address of the device itself. Or I could just run to the command prompt and let me just get out of the FTP, quit, and let me do ipconfig space slash all, and I could see my MAC address, which is right over here. Where is it? Right over here, physical address. See that? That's another way to check your actual MAC address is right over here. I'm going to put this in manually instead of sticky. Okay, so the MAC address of this device is registered to this port one. But when I go back, I can see that it's actually there. So if I do show port security and enter, I could see that it's enabled on port one, how many maximum, only one can be there. We'll see the violation, which means it's actually shutting down. So when you do show port security and you put a question mark, and I could say interface, and I could say, you know what, F0/1, and I could get more details about it. See that? I could see most information that I'm looking for, and it's actually up. All right. What does that mean? The default violation says shut down. the maximum MAC addresses is what? One. Okay, what does that mean? Well, let me minimize this and let's say this person left. Their shift finished at work, they left. This person comes into the office, plugs in their laptop to port one and tries to get an IP address. And look what happens. The port got violated. It goes into shutdown mode. So when I open this and I say, you know what, let me try and restart and see if I can get an IP address. And guess what? I will get a people 169.254. Watch this. So it's going to actually fail. Why? Because this port is actually down. I cannot reach anywhere. This port got violated. Why? Because the maximum, if I don't use the maximum command, what's going to happen? The port gets violated and it goes to shutdown mode. See that? So if I look at this over here, violation count is one. You see that? Look at this. It was zero. Who was doing it? This one was doing it. I could see the MAC address of that new laptop. And the default violation is what? Shut down. Port status, secure, shut down. Port status, secure up. See that? Secure up. It's up, guys. Okay, what does that mean? Watch this. Let me show you what all of this actually means. This person gives up. Okay, okay, you give up. You remove the cable. Okay, now this person comes back at work. It's like, all right, let me continue working and let me connect back. And it's down. The port got violated. What does that mean? We have to contact the network engineer. The network engineer has to go to port one. Watch this interface F0/1, and I have to issue a shutdown and not shut down. So I have to turn the interface up manually because the port got violated. Now this person is on the network from here to here successful. You see that? So remember, by default, when I do port security, the default violation is shut down and the maximum MAC addresses is what? One. That's what I wanted to show you. We're going to be looking at more and more features of port security, and we'll continue that with our next lecture. All right. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Everybody, welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, we're going to continue our journey with port security. But watch this. Let me go back to the switch. All right. And if I look at my configuration, so I can see I only have port one configured. All right. And I can see the actual MAC address. All right. So I'm going to go ahead to port zero, what? Two. And I'm going to do switch port mode access. Remember, I always have to do an access port, which means I'm making changes to this port. Switch port security. I'm going to make a mistake now. All right. And I'm going to say MAC address. And I'm not going to put the MAC address manually. I'm going to say sticky. All right. And I'm going to press enter. That's all. So I'm going to do control V. Look at my Renny config and look what's going to happen now. So I do have switch port security, MAC address, what? Sticky over here. All right. So I'm doing the same thing as what I did for port one. Okay. So this is on port two. All right. So I'm going to go to this machine and say static and DHCP. All right. This one got an IP address. Let me do some actual communication from here to here. It works. From here to here. Successful. It works. All right. I go back to the switch and I say, let's look at the configuration over here. And it's not there. What's happening over here? Let me try this again. Static DHCP. Okay, I'm getting an IP address. Okay, good. Okay, you know what? Let me open the web server of this. Let me do some more traffic and show you what's happening right now. 192.168.100.200. All right, I could reach it. Okay, this is good. Okay, let me go back to the switch and do this again. Why is the MAC address not there? Well, I forgot to configure switch port security. So I have to enable switch port security before I could use this. Remember, this is I have to enter it first. Okay, I get it right now. So I have to go to back to global configuration mode, interface F0/2. switch port security. And I already did that. So if I do Control Z and look at my actual configuration, now I have port security enabled. Okay, let me go back to port 2 and do static DHCP, like restarting the actual computer. I'm able to get a number. Let me ping from here to here. It's good. Let me go back to the switch and do show run and take a look. Oh, there you go. The MAC address is there. Nice. All right. Okay. So if I do show port security and enter, I could see it on port 1 and 2. Maximum is still 1. The default violation is what? Shut down. But if you notice something, I have to enable port security before I could enable the maximum or the MAC address, or if I want to change the violation. What I want to show you is this. When I look at my configuration, I'm assuming that I'm doing port security from port 1 through 24. Let's say from 3 to port 20, then I'm going to skip 21 and 22, then I'm going to do 23 and 24. I don't want to go to each port and do this manually. What I could do is a range of commands. Interface range, fast Ethernet. See, I'm hitting the tab key, 0 slash what? 3 to a port to, let's say, 20. Space, ask for help, comma, ask for help. You see that? Fast Ethernet, 0 slash what? Let's say 22 through 24. So whatever commands I do right now affects port 3 to 20 and 22 through 24. So I'm going to say switch port, mode access, and then switch port security, just like that. Control Z, I like to save my configuration. And I look at my configuration, scroll run. Now I have port security and mode access turned on all of them, except for which ones? Except for the ones that I actually skipped. And what did I skip? You see this? So I did this on purpose based on the command that I actually did. So I skipped port what? 21. So I did 20 and I skipped 21. Then I said 22 through 24. See that? So what I'm trying to show you is you could do a range of commands. So if I do show port security right now, I can see port security is enabled on all of them except for 21. See that? Instead of doing one at a time, unless you're getting paid per an hour, all right, that's a different story. But I could do a range of commands and I can apply that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. That's what I wanted to show you in this lecture. We will continue our journey with port security in our next lecture. Bye now. All right. Everybody, welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, we're going to continue with port security. So what I did show run, as you see, I want to start working on port 3 right now. What's on port 3? I do have a laptop. This is port 3. All right. If you forgot which ports you're using, you go to options, preferences, and show port labels. And I could actually see that this is actually on port 3. So I'm going to go back to preferences, remove this. All right. And here. So what I want to do is I want to go back to port 3 this time. So let's say global configuration mode, interface F0 slash 3. I already did the switch port mode access and port security, right? So remember, if I check port 3 over here, I can see that I already have these commands. So this is actually fine. Now what I want to do is switch port security, MAC address, of course, always use sticky, and then switch port, unless you want to put the MAC address manually. Then I want to do port security, and this time I'm going to use the maximum command. And the maximum I could go up to is 132 MAC addresses per port. I want to say by default, if you don't use the maximum command, the default is 1. I want to change to it to 2. Then I'm going to put a question mark and enter. So I'm going to do Control Z, save my configuration, look at my configuration. So I do have the maximum command. Okay. Well, if I do show port security and I say interface F0 slash 3, I could see that the maximum MAC addresses are 2. The default violation is still shut down. It's enabled, right? No MAC addresses are actually there. All right. Very good. So this is on port 3. Let me do static DHCP. This one got a number. Okay, perfect. Can I reach the network? So if I put envelope here and envelope here, I can. Envelope here and envelope here, I can. All right. Let me go back to the switch and do the command again. Show port security interface F03. So yes, I do have this is the first MAC address, 92EA. All right. So if I maneuver the mouse, look at the right-hand side, 92EA. All right. This person leaves work. Now this person connects to port 3. Watch this. So I'm going to go to port 3 right over here. Fast forward, try to get an IP address, and I should be able to get a number. Why? Because I said the maximum are 2. So if I put envelope here, an envelope here, everything looks successful. Let me delete so you guys can see better. Envelope here is successful. I go back to my switch and I say what? Let's take a look and see. Show port security. Now I can see that there's actually 2. Sticky MAC addresses are what? 2. So I could see the maximum is 2, unless I want to do the show run command. And I could see that I do have 2 MAC addresses right now. You see that? Because I said maximum is 2, which means if the third one kicks in and it gets violated, the port will be in shutdown mode, right? So when I do show port security right now, just in general, I could see port 3 over here. The violation is still shut down. The maximum are 2. See that? So nobody violated anything yet. All right. So right now, what I want to do is I want to remove the cable from this laptop, which is hooked up to port 3. And I'm going to get myself another laptop and hook that also up to port what? 3. See that? And fast forward, and let me see if I can get an IP address. And now it's gonna fail. You see that? It got violated. Okay, let me go back to the switch over here and show you what's happening over here. Show port security. And look at port 3. Violation. Okay, okay, all right. We understand. Show port security. Interface F0/3. Ah, right now it's in secure shutdown. It got violated by who? BCID. Okay, who is BCID? BC1D, I mean. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Remember, hexadecimal goes up to 15. So 0 through 9 and A through what? F. So I see that. Okay. It got violated. That's one thing to keep in mind. So now, if this person comes back and this person comes back, it's still going to be shut down. If I go back to my actual switch and I do show IP interface brief, right, I could see that now it's actually down. You see that? Okay, because I said the maximum is 2, and still the violation is shut down, and this person kicked in is like violated the port. Okay, this person gives up, is like, all right, I don't think I could be on this network. I'm not supposed to be in this actual office. Let me connect this one back over here. Ports. Oh, still down. Okay, let me contact Mo. Okay, so Mo comes in over here and goes interface F0/3, and I do a shutdown and I do a no shut. Now I turn the interface up. This is beautiful. Can this person get online? Let's see. Yes. Can they reach the server? Yes. Okay. This person leaves their shift. Okay. Remove the cable. And I put the cable right now from here, which is the one that is registered to port 3. Fast forward. Let me do static DHCP. Okay. Perfect. Everything's back in business. I had to do shut, no shut. See, that's successful. Let me actually remove this. Shut, no shut. There you go. Everything looks fine. All right. So if I go back to my switch over here, watch this, and I do Control Z, and then let me look at my run configuration, and I can see port 3. The maximum is 2 sticky, and I can specify which ones are actually there. Okay. My next lecture is going to be talking about the violation. The default violation is what, folks? Yes, it's shut down. So remember, the maximum is 1, and the default violation is what? Shut down. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, we're going to see what is the difference between other violation modes. Like we did the actual shutdown, and the default violation is shutdown. So we're going to be looking at there is a protect, there's an actual restrict, right? So one thing to do is I'm going to get myself a laptop over here. And let's say I'm going to go back to the switch. I actually wiped my switch configuration, so I have actually nothing. Just to let you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the following. I'm going to go to global configuration mode, interface F0/10, let's say through 11. Interface what? Range. All right, F0/10 to 11. And I'm going to do switch port, load access, switch port, port security. Then exit. The first thing I want to do is I want to actually go to port 10. Switch port, port security, MAC address, sticky. All right. And then I want to do switch port, port security, violation, right? And this time I'm going to be doing what? Protect. So if I do Control Z and look at my configuration, look at port 10. So I do have it as sticky, which means the first one that connects will actually register their MAC address. And the violation is what? Protect. What does that mean? Well, let me go ahead and connect the device to port 10. Right here, I'm connecting to port 10. Okay, let me make sure that I can get an IP address from the DHCP server. So here's DHCP, right? So now I'm actually able to get a number. Okay, this one has an IP address, let's say DHCP, just to make sure I have a number. So I could do communication from here to here, success. I could have communication from here to here. I could have communication from here to here. It looks fine. Okay, let me go back to the switch and do the following. So if I look at my actual configuration, I can see the MAC address is right over here. See that? It's the MAC address. So if I do show port security interface F0 slash what 10, I could see that the violation is what? Protect, and there's no violation, and I could see the MAC address there. All right, nice, beautiful. This person finished their actual shift. All right. Let me go ahead and remove the actual cable. And let me get another laptop right over here and connect it to port 10. Look at this. And here's port 10. Okay, let me fast forward and do this command over here. And I'm going to do static DHCP. All right. And look, I'm not able to get an IP address. Why? Well, it violated the port, and the port is in which mode right now? It's actually in protect mode. So the default violation is what? Shut down. I'm not going to be able to reach the network. People 169.254. So in other words, I put envelope here, nothing, failed. Envelope here and here, same thing, failed. So this is not working. Okay, this person gives up, moves the cable, and now this person comes back. Is like, let me continue my work. I came the next day, connect to port 10. Port is not going to be shut down. I don't have to contact the network engineer. So, in other words, when the person restarts, they will still be on the network. Remember when the default violation was shut down, I had to go to the port, do shut, not shut. It can still be on the network. Success. If I go to the switch, watch this. And if I do show, let's say, port security interface F0 slash 10, it doesn't tell me about the violation because it's in protect mode. It's like, I don't care. If anybody connects, I'm not going to report it. Okay. That's what protect is. So protect keeps the port up and running, even though it gets violated, but it doesn't report any events if anybody violated the port, even though I did have one violation and it's still up. Okay. So that's what protect is. What is then restrict? Okay. Let me bring another device in over here. And let me go to port 11, let's say. So if I look at my actual configuration, where's port 11? Nothing is there. Okay, so I'm going to go to global configuration mode, interface F0 slash 11, then switch port, port security, MAC address, and make it what? Sticky. That's what I'm going to do and enter. Then I'm going to do switch port, port security, violation, restrict, and press enter. So I'm restricting the port over here versus protect. Control Z and save the configuration. So I'm going to look at this configuration over here. And I'm going to look at port 11. And port 11 says sticky, but the violation is what? Restrict. Okay. Let me go ahead and add the device here. So laptop number 7 is going to go to port 11. So here's port 11. And then DHCP over here. See this? I'm able to get an IP address. Let's see if I'm able to get an IP address. Can I get an IP address? This one is not able to get an IP. Let's see. Let's see why. People, what did I do over here? Okay, what did I actually do? So I do have a number. Okay, it took a while to get it. All right, good. Now, what I'm going to do is, can I reach the network? From here to here, success. See that? It's good. Okay, let me go back to the switch and look at port 11. Watch this. So show run, and I could see port 11 over here that it's actually in restrict mode, and I have the MAC address there. All right, let me go ahead. Go get myself another laptop, right? Watch this. I'm going to remove this and get myself another laptop and hook it up to port what? 11. So from here to here to port 11. So now I'm actually on port 11. All right. So I'm going to go to the laptop, go to desktop, IT, and do DHCP. Am I able to get a number? Well, no, you will be getting a people. Okay, but guess what? I go back to the switch and I'm looking at port 11. Look at this port 11 right over here. I could see port 11. The violation is what? Restrict. What if I do show port security and I say interface F0 slash what? 11. Well, it tells me that it got violated. Reports it. It's like how many times you release renew? It's like 4 times. That's how DORA works. So I got reported. Remember, port 10 didn't because it's in restrict mode. So protect and restrict are the same. When the port gets violated, it doesn't shut down. The difference is when you do restrict, you get notified. If somebody restricts it, if you have it in protect mode, you don't get notified. That's the difference between the modes. That's what I wanted to show you in this lecture. Well, in our next lecture, we're going to see how can I secure a switch in all means, and you'll see what I mean by that. But this is all about port security. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Everybody, welcome back. It's Mo again. I want to show you one last thing about port security over here. When we do port security and we secure the ports, look at this. Let me just show you something on the switch. So I do have, if I look at my actual configuration over here, this is something you want to run and take a look and see. So if I do show run, I can see that I have port security everywhere, right? So when I look at my MAC address table, why is the MAC address table important? Well, because switches, they filter by MAC address, not by IP. And look, everything says static instead of what? One of them is dynamic, which is my server. So if you don't do port security, the MAC address will be registered dynamically. But when you do port security, you will see a static entry. So when you actually look at a MAC address table, if you folks see the word static, that means, okay, I'm actually using port security. If it says dynamic, I'm not using port security. So remember, switches, they filter by a MAC address, not by an IP. What device filtered by an IP? Yes, an actual router. So routers, they deal with packets, which has source destination IP address. Switches, they have frames, which is source destination MAC address, right? So that's like a main difference. So when you see two computers are talking to each other, why can they talk to each other on a switch? Not because they have the same network, because they belong to the same VLAN. And that's what we're going to be discussing. And you'll see that in a future lecture in this class. So this is what I wanted to share with you folks for now. We will continue our next session later. So we'll see you folks soon. Bye now. All right.